Last year, we had a terrible situation that left the city really sad, very upset. And I remembered vividly when the father of this young boy came into the studio and we were choked up. We were all sad, but we all put everything in God's hands at that time. Little Elijah Marsh. When he wandered away from home, out into the cold, the winter, and he perished in the snow, in the cold condition, 3-year-old. His father, Mr. Curt Barry, came in and he spoke with us, talked about little Elijah and about himself and the whole situation, how it affected him and others. And since then, we haven't heard anything more about what's been happening. We have Mr. Curt Barry here today to bring us an update as to what's been happening since. Curt, welcome again to Grapevine.
And thanks, Mr. G. Happy to be here.
Now, I know that the road that this thing brought you through was not an easy one at all.
No.
Yes, lots of suffering. And you can still see it on your face. What's been happening?
Well, it's a situation that caused me to be more focused and more aware of my surroundings. After the funeral and seeing everything that happened, I came to a lot of conclusions. And there was a lot of things concluded in respects to the court. And when the mother and I went back to court, it was, determined that, like I said in the last YouTube video, that all the support I was paying for my children was reversed and some of the money was returned to me, because the whole time they were charging me support illegally, but nobody wanted to listen to what was going on and what the court was doing until my son died, and it brought light to the situation. And then being that there were more witnesses, now the judge has to be more cautious. Now the lawyers have to be more cautious. So then they started to follow the laws that they listed. And just seeing that in the realm of the disputes with custody and access, still they did not want to incorporate the tragedy of what happened with Elijah, the whole situation. I could not use that as a framework in my case towards our older son, because they said, you know what, that child is gone. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to hear anything about this child whatsoever. All we concerned about was this child. So it was mirroring the situations I saw going on, in that any situation that reflected negatively on the mother in the court system, they could just cut it out and not want to hear anything about it. And that was such a big part, considering it's something that I've warned them about and spoken to them about. And when the warnings were finally, evident, they said that, you know what, we don't want to talk about that child. We just want to talk about the child in front of us. So then Elijah, after they finished using him to try to milk me for money, then he was worthless and they didn't want to talk about him anymore in regards to how come the same people can have custody of his brother going forward.
So Elijah's gone already. Forget about it, they say. Let's talk about your older son. How old is he?
Mikhail is 9.
He's 9 years old.
That's right.
And he's still living with the mother?
Well, yes, he's still living with the mother, and basically half the time he's with me also, so we share.
You share custody?
Parental time. No, we don't share custody. We share parental time. To go forward, this is the travesty of this court system. To go forward to deal with the custodial issues would have garnered too much money, and then it was odd, because when I went in and I wanted to take it to the full limit, the judge referred, and he said something like, after all that's happened, why are you guys still fighting? Haven't you learned your lesson? And that was insulting to me, because everything that happened, it was not in my hand and had nothing to do with me. And matter of fact, it's something that I was warning him about the whole time. So it was there was no satisfaction judicially. And afterwards, as the video shows, the children's aid in our case was called numerous times and every time they were called against me, their findings was nothing. They couldn't find anything. And it turns out that even after Elijah died, they called me to investigate me after for Mikhail.
Who would have been reporting you to the Children's Aid?
Well, they always say anonymous call, but the other party usually gets someone to call on their behalf. So then this senseless woman called me up and said that my son is having possible anxieties. And
somebody from Children's Aid?
That's correct.
And that your son, your 9-year-old now, is having an anxiety problem?
That's correct. And then my son revealed to me that they were pulling him out of class. He's in gym class. And pulling him out and trying to talk to him about Elijah, which I was trying to make him forget about. And then they were accusing me of causing the so-called anxiety. And then I said to the lady, look, that's natural considering his brother just died. And during the conversation, I found out that the Children's Aid never even investigated that Elijah passed away.
So wait a minute. The Children's Aid, did they go to your son's school and pull him out of gym classes to talk to him?
That's right. They've been harassing him since Elijah died because this is what these people will do. They create situations so they can keep a case going. And as long as the case is on file, they can report to the government, look, we have said number of cases, so we need the funding because they get the funding from the government, about $4 billion, right? They get more funding to carry on their case and harass people throughout the rest of the time. But my view was, my son just died and you never even showed up at the house to say what happened here and who was watching him and what happened, who was watching him. And yet they called me to say that I might be causing my son anxiety, who was showing no drop in his school courses, no negative effects from the situation that occurred.
They didn't notify you that they would have gone to the school to talk to him?
No, they don't have to do that. These people are some of the most dangerous people we have towards our children in this society, right? They don't need your permission. They can go to the school and they can say anyone can call anonymous. Hell, they could even call anonymous and show up at your house and interview your child. And their powers that people can use in the court, the Children's Aid can basically make you look like a criminal even though you have no criminal conviction, and the judge will have them as expert witnesses. They come to your house and they sit down and they record the notes, and the judge always refers and says, well, the Children's Aid knows, the Children's Aid said, but it's just another human being writing down the notes. So, I don't understand which part of it is any kind of expert witnesses, right?
And in your opinion, your 9-year-old son is not having any anxiety problem?
No. Mikhail just won the spelling bee at school. Mikhail gets A's and B's in school.
Yes.
Right? He participates in basketball, all manner of things. So the intent was just to further harass me, but yet ignore the negligence that happened in the house when Elijah passed away.
A special guest, Mr. Curt Barry, and of course he is the father of the young 3-year-old Elijah Marsh, who passed away over a year now. It was in February, month of February.
February 19th.
You will never forget that day.
No.
You'll never forget that date.
No.
And the 3-year-old boy wandered away from home, and they found his cold body, dead. And the father has been on a campaign since, looking for justice.
Well, absolutely, because, like I told you, Mr. G, when I went into the hospital, speaking of never forgetting, I saw my son's face. I didn't stay long. I just asked them to uncover the blanket. I stood for probably 3 seconds, and I understood everything that was going on already. And if you see the look in his face with his eyes open, he didn't go quietly into the night. So I certainly will not go quietly. I want to know what happened. How come people did not investigate? I want to know what happened. No one has yet said what happened. All I've heard was lies and inconsistencies on what was occurring, and all I've been was harassed by people for trying to ask and find out what happened. One would think if your child dies and you say you don't know how, one would be interested in trying to find out and see the exact situation of what occurred so they can prevent it happening to other children going forward.
Has there been any improvement in the relationship between you and the mother?
No, how could there be an improvement? I mean, after Elijah died, these people were still taking child support from me. It was 9 months after, and they still was taking child support from me. They could have wrote a simple letter to the Furrow office to say, look, take him off of the support. And matter of fact, even though the court said that I wasn't supposed to be paying support, they still wanted to get more money from me.
Wait a minute. Taking support for you for the dead child. I'm sorry to use the word, but
I understand.
In order for people to understand,
Yeah.
are you telling me that you were still paying child support for your little 3-year-old son who passed away?
Elijah died.
Even months after he did it?
Elijah died in February of 2000 and what year it was, 15?
Yes.
And
you're paying child support until when?
I didn't stop paying until November 30th, 2015.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, like, common sense is not something that these people, are acclimated with. And this is what you experience when you go as a father in the court. They said, you just wait. You'll get the money back anyways. You can wait. We're going to make our trial date at the end of the year. They didn't want to deal with the situation right away. So they don't consider any psychological effects you'll have when they send you the owing slips. And the Furrow office was calling me, and the woman is telling me, look, you've got to pay us. We're going to send you to collections. We're going to take your license and what have you. And I said, well, madam, you are aware what happened. They said, yeah, we know, but you're going to have to continue paying, sir, and then we'll pay you back the money after. There was no rush and no sense of urgency for anyone to have me forget the situation and be in a place where I can fully recover and leave it alone.
Couldn't it be an oversight on the mother's part for the payments to continue?
An oversight would presume that lawyers who have gone through about 11 years in law school is acclimated to the family court would be too incompetent to do what it takes in order to pull it out. That was no oversight. That would be presuming that these people who stand on this and sit on this pedestal, including the judge, could not make any emergency order or just say right away, okay, here's an order and this is removed.
Did you reach out to her to ask her to stop to try to get the payment stopped?
I mean, you need to understand something. If for 3 years I'm reaching out to someone and saying, stop leaving my children with your little sisters, you yourself have told me they're incompetent. You yourself told me they can't even wash dishes properly. But when it came down to it, in order to get money, you wanted to keep them watching my son so you can keep getting money from me. So once I can't reach to a person like that, and once someone sees that I wasn't supposed to be paying them money and they're still trying to get more money from me, there is no reaching out to them in any way, shape, or form.
And you don't think if you had tried to reach out to her, she would have responded and probably sent a letter to the authorities to stop the...
Yeah, they sent a letter. They sent a letter in November. About 9 months after.
Why 9 months after? What did you do to get them to send the letter 9 months after?
Well, that's the slow wheels grinding of the court system. You could someone could apply and say, look, my son is in danger in February, and you wouldn't get to see a judge until possibly June or July, and then they'll just have a first appearance, and then they'll deal with it maybe 4 months after.
So did you get all the money back?
Yes, I got everything back.
Did you get it with interest?
No. They don't do that.
They don't?
No. If you are late, they will charge you interest. But in that regard, no, you wouldn't get anything back with interest. Yeah.
So anything in Elijah's memory that has been done? Because, with his death, we're hoping that something would have been done and that his death would not be in vain. Is there anything?
Well, I received some money which I forwarded to the Hospital for Sick Kids. Also, Home Depot has donated some locks that one can put on their doors. And I'll leave some contact information after so someone can, if anyone is interested in picking up some locks and you have young children, you want to keep them more safe, you can contact me. And other than that, I don't know of anything. All I know, like I said, when I go to the funeral, Elijah does not have a tombstone.
No tombstone.
No, he doesn't have a tombstone.
Who is responsible for putting a tombstone up for Elijah?
Well, as they acclimated themselves, the Marsh family, the mother Georgette Marsh and her family, took full control of the funeral proceedings. And as you recall, they did receive $170,000 in order to deal with the funeral and pay for the cost of anything that would occur during the course of the funeral.
Are you absolutely sure that they received that amount of money?
Oh, yeah. They even went to meet the gentleman at Tim Hortons for some reason, right? And he listed something afterwards. He had a comment afterwards saying after he gave them the money, he tried to give them some suggestions as how it should be sent, but they cut him off completely.
So you don't think that in the interest of little Elijah, that both could come together, yourself and the mother, and put up a tombstone for that, for the little boy, don't you think?
I think it's time for accountability to be where accountability has to be. If you get $170,000, handle your business. I don't know for what form and what reason after more than a year there is no tombstone at Prospect Cemetery. I don't know why the grass could grow taller than the plaque where my son's name is, and why every other grave around it has a tombstone, but Elijah does not have a tombstone to this day.
But as a father, wouldn't you feel proud and satisfied that you did something about that by even go there, cut the grass down, forget about what they want to do or don't want to do, but you make sure that you do what you want to do for your son, and even if they don't want to put up a tombstone, but for you and your satisfaction. I mean, it doesn't cost a whole lot to put up a tombstone.
Yeah. Like I said,
yes.
Let's not usher away the responsibility where it was put in the first place and who assumed the responsibility.
But Elijah is no longer here.
Of course.
He's gone.
Of course. And I assure you that I will handle my business in regards to my son the way it needs to be handled as I go forward.
Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue talking to Mr. Barry about the whole situation, Elijah Marsh. This is Grapevine. Back in a moment with more.
You're inside the Grapevine with Fitzroy Gordon on G98.7 FM.
All right, thank you very much. I'm speaking with Mr. Curt Barry, the father of the young deceased child, little 3-year-old Elijah Marsh, who passed away February 19th, 2015. His body was found out in the cold as he wandered away from home. Curt, we talk about the court system, and obviously you're not satisfied with the court system at all. And perhaps you believe that they're too slow. They don't show much. They don't show much care. And maybe, according to what I hear from a lot of people, the court system is not set up to assist the male, especially the black male. There's a big struggle. Have you noticed that in going through what you have gone through?
Yeah, I would say that's an understatement. Let's put it this way. The family court, you're out there and you see the things that's happening in the news. You just had a brother on here speaking about and a sister talking about gun violence and, people getting shot and these kinds of things. Crime prevention, usually the best place is when you come from a stable home, mother and father, you have a better chance of succeeding. This court system aims to put the father outside of the equation and let the state and the mother raise the child together. And when you talk about the things, people always like to talk about, these Black Lives Matters and a whole other things. But I'll tell you what, more lives is lost in this family court system than anywhere else. You look across the Americas, you look in Canada, and the amount of kids that are ripped apart, put into foster homes, right? And given to parents who are irresponsible. Even if you look on the news and see the number of black children who have died across America and Canada in that very year, 2015, the numbers is staggering. You're talking about the little boy who got shot in Chicago. You talk about the Trayvon Martin situations, and a lot of those people were coming from single parent homes. Most of those young boys lived primarily with their mother. And, that's not conducive to great survival when only one parent, whether it be mother or father, has their hand in raising the child. And this court understands this. Do not think that these people are stupid. They understand this more than anything else. They create the problem, and the solution is them getting more money when they hire the lawyers. And you see all the people who are in child and youth worker right now in York University, U of T, and ready to graduate. This system is made so that we can afford to pay them and bring the employment rate up, because all of them go and they become counselors, they become children's aid workers, and they become nurses who facilitate themselves in these situations and make the system a whole lot of money. And we are the customers. We are the customers who hire them, because when we have a dispute, instead of solving it within ourselves, like a lot of other cultures do, we are the customers. When I go into the court system, Mr. Gordon, I've seen, and this is not to put anyone down, I've seen mostly black women in the court system. There's one day, because when I couldn't believe what was happening, I studied things.
Yes.
So I went on my own time and I studied the judge, and I looked at his cases to see how he was handling the other people who was going towards him. Because the amount of bias that I was getting, I said, something is wrong here. I don't think this man is foolish. I think he has a problem with me. And I went that day, and there was a black woman, and she was taking to court a Chinese fellow. And then again, right after that, there was a black woman, and she was taking to court an Indian fellow. And I observed what was going on in there, and it was unbelievable. And I said to myself, you know, so many sisters in this court system to settle their disputes. One thing I must say, though, I did not recognize a lot of black women from Africa or the Caribbean in that court system. It was always those, when they spoke, I heard and knew that they grew up in North America.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you talk about support system, and in the black community, it seems as if to talk about children should be raised by a village, and the closest we come to that village is the church.
Yeah.
You don't think that the church is doing enough to help with these situations and to also solve dispute? Because I think that both you and the mother of this little your children, you go to church. Right?
I don't go to church.
You don't go to church,
no.
but you go to church.
Not that I know of.
All right. So, but you believe that the church could help to solve these issues, before getting pretty well into the court system.
Well, let's put it this way. When Elijah died, I saw a lot of people and a lot of things I never witnessed before. There was some church minister saying, let's have a prayer for Elijah on TV over at 145 Neptune. I don't know this woman for going to any church. And there was 2 church ministers at the funeral giving their sermons and what have we. And it was disturbing to me, and it made me upset that they came at the end of the role, because Mrs. Marsh could not deny it even if she tried. I asked her, let's bring this to some kind of pastor before we go into the court. And these things were denied. And, if my mother's tutelage is correct, Mr. Gordon, 1 Corinthians 6 verse 2, I believe the Holy Apostle Paul said, what is this shame amongst you, that when you have a dispute amongst yourselves, you do not use the less esteemed person in the church, but you take it to the court of the non-believers? And he said, he lamented, is there no one wise amongst you enough who can go and deal with these issues? Why do you not even suffer yourself to lose rather than go and have to deal with these people and the things that they will do? I've been aware of that verse from time immemorial. I requested that these issues be solved outside of the court system. And I went through it, and it cost my son his life. It cost my other 2 sons misery. And it cost me a lot of misery being away from my children, because don't think for a minute that when a man is not with his seed, his child that comes from him, that he feels natural. The only time I feel the strongest, Mr. Gordon, is when I'm in the presence of all my sons and we're walking together and I can smile. Other times, when I don't know where he's in the nighttime, what's happening, if he's dreaming or what's going on, I feel very weak. But to get back to it, the church could have intervened before the situation happens in a lot of cases, because when you go into there, you know, we like blacks like to say that we're a godly people. We're a very godly people, and a lot of the women who are taking brothers to courts, they're members of churches. Granted, a lot of them do not tell the pastor the business that they're dealing with and that they're going on with. And who knows if they would listen in the first place, because nobody who's in a place of advantage ever gives it up without a fight.
Mm-hmm. But you still believe that the church should play a bigger role, maybe a vital role, in solving problems before they get to the court system.
Well, that's what's written. I just recited you the verse. That's what's written. And Mr. Gordon, when you go to other cultures,
yes,
right? There is a gentleman. Forgive me for not remembering his name because I wish I knew. And he came in the Toronto Star one time and he said that blacks should have their own children's aid.
He's not the only one who said that. A lot of people who have said blacks should have their own children.
Him in particular, yes. I read that one time. Yes. I don't read the paper a lot, but I read that one time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you have to understand where he's coming from, because there is a Jewish children's aid. There is a Christian children's aid, because they're not there in order to separate you from your children. They're there to protect the culture of their people against the court system. Because the Jews have a culture of disciplining their children. So you can't go into a Jewish home and say, oh, you beat your child, therefore we're going to take him away, as they will with a community that doesn't have any support and power. You couldn't go into a Catholic place, right, who has the Catholic Children's Aid and say, look, I put my son to stand against the wall. You couldn't come with all that nonsense talking about that's abusive and that might hurt the child, because this is their culture of raising their children and protecting their children. And, you know, in their cultures, the church is paramount in any laws in regards to raising children and growing their moral spirit and things of that nature. You look at Sikh, you look at Hindu and the people from these nations. I never recognize any one of these people in the courts, to their credit, because they deal with it internally. They have, whether it be their imam, their spiritual leader, what have we, they settle all those disputes. I'm not saying it's always 100% correct and the best way, but they settle this dispute instead of being customers and making the Family Court of Ontario money.
But so when you go to court, it's packed with black people.
Everybody knows that.
Wow.
I mean, you look at right now, for reference, just last night, I was reading. Everyone's aware of what's happening in the NBA right now. The Golden State Warriors.
Right.
They're facing whoever. Yes. But there's a player on Golden State right now, Andre Iguodala, and he's paying his wife $18,000 a month in child support. She just filed to have $58,000 a month. Who is advising these people?
She wants $40,000 more per month.
That's correct. Who is advising these people? Who is standing around? This woman probably goes to a church somewhere. No one is saying that this is greed. Who is advising these people, and who can come in the community and say, look, let's stop this. This has gone too far. I have appealed to Mrs. Marsh's brother, her mother, and many people in her family, and there was no resolution to it. But after my son died, then they wanted to talk to me, and it was too late. There's nothing to say after that.
You wouldn't want to hear from them.
No. There's nothing to say after that, because it shows me that they did not have any foresight or wisdom to understand the gravity of the situation. These are people who were lying to themselves and say that their household and the way that they were raising children was good and correct. And everything that I told them, you can't make this stuff up. Every single thing that I told them played out.
But sometimes it takes these things to happen for somebody to realize a different situation, and the fact that they wanted to talk with you, perhaps what they wanted to say would have solved a lot of problems, and because you don't know what they wanted to talk to you about.
Well, I knew it was too late. My son already died. You don't have anything to say. And in the realm of these things, I think the trouble with our community in solving problems, one of the pillars that gets in the way, Mrs. Marsh's family is from your country. I'm a Grenadian. Though we have the same skin color, we are not necessarily all the same people. The black from Grenada is as different from the black from Jamaica as the Italian is to the Portuguese. they have their own separate cultures. The Greek is different, the Romanian is different. So a lot of times we do not see eye to eye on a lot of things, and we have different ways of our cultures have come up. So those things get in the way sometimes. And to say, for example, that I should be listening to these people and what they have to say presumes that we have the same culture and the same goals.
But the common thing is love and respect. Common love and respect. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're from.
I mean,
the cultures don't have to tell you to deal with love based on the principles of how love is set. The foundation of love. Love is love in any language, in any culture. And if you got love, you got respect, and you're supposed to have tolerance. So culture does not cause one to apply themselves differently. It has to be something else. It is what's happening inside the human being, the human mind, that prevents them from reaching out.
I agree with you 100%. I understand that you've been some kind of preacher or something, and you know that the Bible says charity, love, is the only thing that will remain.
It is.
And I understand be not overcome evil, but overcome evil with good.
Good.
Look, I was paying these people for years, illegally, and pleaded with them. There was times, Mr. Gordon, I couldn't afford to send a barrel to my mother in Grenada because they were taking all of my monies. There was times things I didn't do for my children because they were taking my money illegally. They were fully aware of it, and they wanted more. You know what they said when I went and the judge finally said, look, we're not supposed to be taking his money. You know what they went? They went after something called the Section 7 expenses. Well, since we're not going to be paying him support no more, I'm going to put Mikhail in swimming. I want some money for that. I'm going to put him in karate. I want some money for that. I'm going to put him in, piano. I want some money for that. So in another fashion, they were still trying to use another loophole in the law to get the same monies that they weren't going to receive anymore. So when you speak about talking to these people, you cannot speak to these people. Listen, Mikhail is still going to and sleeping at 145 Neptune where his brother died. They tried to get me to still go over there, and I told the judge, if you try to make me go over there to pick up my son, I'd rather not see him because I'm not going to relive the walk that Elijah took to his death. These people, I don't know how they're able to still sleep where the boy died. But after I seen that, I said, you know what? I cannot reason with someone like that.
You know, it's very sad. And it's even more sad that still there seemed to be no solution and no togetherness. Not even the death of this little boy has brought any type of togetherness or any peace among both families. And it's very sad. And as black people, you know, I look at it as a failure among us as a people. It is a failure.
Yeah.
You know, but will there, I mean, you have a son together still, right?
Yep.
A 9-year-old boy. So that, but can't you, one is gone already. What about the living? What can both of you do now for the 9-year-old who is alive? Isn't he worth it? Both of you to put aside your differences? I know that they've been taking, according to what you've said, they have taken money from you illegally and all that. Wrongdoing, but it has been rectified because you've gotten all the money back. And of course, they've been adding swimming and piano lessons and all that, all of these things. And it hurts your feeling. I understand that. Yeah. But for your son, for the benefit of him, is there anything that can be done for he who is still alive, your 9-year-old son?
Going forward, my son will be invincible. Nothing will be able to touch him. He has my full protection now. No court, nothing under the sun will be able to separate me from my son. He's brilliant, he's beautiful. He's aware of everything that happens more than people think. I'm not too worried about Mikhail. I mean, you can speak the peace march all you want, but let's tell the truth to the people, Mr. Gordon. Even when I was here the last time, these people had people calling your show and threatening me before I left. Even today, you gave me information that some clown believes that he can put the fear of God in me by the time I leave your show. So how do you believe that I can reason with these people? And that is not my job to reason with these people. I mean, they'll never recover from the situation that happened. And going forward, anyone else who's in the court system, and it continues on. This is not something that's exclusive to me, unfortunately. Look, I've been in there, and the selling out that happens in the court system needs to stop. I saw a judge say to a black man and put in an order that he's not allowed to talk about Africa in front of his daughter. And these kinds of things need to stop. I went there and I sought help to have the barrage of wrongdoing stopped. And I saw an embassy of cowards. I went and I saw lawyers who said, look, I know you're right, but this is the way it goes and this is the way it wants to go. And your best interest is to stay on the good side of the judge than to tell him about what happened to you. Apologize to the judge and tell him you were just angry about the last time you spoke. And these are the kinds of things that I'm hearing. There are people that knew and saw the wrongdoings of what was going on and did nothing to stop it. The simp brother of Mrs. Marsh would have Mrs. Marsh drive Elijah all the way to his house, knowing that his bigger brother Mikhail is with me, knowing that I'm not seeing my son, and not have any decency to call and say, look, this is what's going on, it's wrong, man. Do you want to come see your son? There's no one and nothing in the middle. And this happens in too many families. So I am speaking to everyone out there, any mother and any grandmother in a situation. When they're calling you to babysit their son or daughter, you have to be able to ask yourself the question, because, you know, spiritually, you're going to be held accountable. How come I haven't seen the father? Where is the father? How come you always sending the child to me? And, you know, you're getting money for the child. You're going to this court system and everything. Why can't we speak? Let's come to church with me. Let's talk to the father about how we're going to solve this problem instead of putting our children through the court system so that they're separated. Because we all know that when a child is separated from his father, his first mission when he becomes older becomes his most vulnerable mission. Because guess what? He seeks to find out where he comes from. And he seeks a father. And then he can go in and find all kinds of, you know, unruly individuals, be subject to being predisposed to sexual abuse and all kinds of things from coaches. We see it all the time. Coaches, church leaders, and everyone playing that father figure and taking advantage of people who are vulnerable because they're trying to find themselves. So when you take a child away from his father, you give him a bad start in life because he's going to spend so much time trying to find himself.
And as we turn the corner in this, Curt, the locks. You talk about it, and I'm very much interested in the locks that you talk about, so that parents can use those locks on their doors to prevent their little ones from getting out and ended up like little Elijah. Tell me more about the locks and where people can get them.
Well, the locks, you can pick them up at 231 Ava Road, and that would be 2 Wednesdays from now.
Okay, so is there these special locks have been made?
Yep.
All right, for preventative reasons?
Yeah, the locks are made for preventative reasons, but duty of care still has to be present. When Elijah walked out, they said that the lock was broken. These people didn't call the landlord to fix the locks. Who knows how long it was broken for? And that's not to say, you know, that's how Elijah got out, that the door was locked or anything. So the locks are there as a preventative measure, but they're not going to give you common sense in the spirit of raising a child nonetheless.
So the locks are called Elijah lock?
No, they're not called any form of thing. They're, I wish I could describe them to you, but I wouldn't be successful in that nature.
But you wouldn't call them Elijah locks?
No, I wouldn't call them Elijah locks, but I would say that you remember the tragedy of Elijah while you put those locks on, or in your house right now. Remember the tragedy of Elijah and the possibility of your son or daughter being able to walk out of your house.
Is there a website you're going to be setting up for people to go there to order the locks or anything like that? Yes,
they can go to send an email for that matter.
Yeah.
At Arts to Rise.
I'll spell that.
ARTS. The number 2. RISE. At hotmail.com.
At hotmail.com.
That's correct.
ARTS, the number 2, rise. Arts to rise at hotmail.com. Final word before we depart today?
I'd just like to tell everyone, take care. I thank very much to the people who supported me during this time. giants who supported me and made sure that I was level-headed, including Sean Morissette, lawyers Keyshawn Hyacing, Roger Rowe, and the distinguished Rocco Champong.
Are you still going to pursue law?
That remains to be seen, Mr. Gordon. I'm still trying to settle myself. It's been a year for everyone else, but for me, this is every day, every hour.
Still hurting?
I don't presume it's going to go away. Every time someone asks me if you're okay, I say yes and I look down, but this is not the kind of thing that ever becomes okay. There is still no answers into what happened, how my son got out, and there is still no resolution. I can't get no proper and decent investigation, and I'm going to keep on going loudly as Elijah did not go quietly into the night, like I told you.
So there's still more questions than answers.
Absolutely.
Mr. Curt Barry, I want to thank you very much for coming in today and for bringing us up to date with what has been happening since.
Yeah, I want to thank you for the platform to bring forward a lot of issues that's affecting our people across the globe.
God bless you, sir.
Yes, sir. Likewise. God bless you.
Mr. Curt Barry, ladies and gentlemen, and we all will never forget little Elijah Marsh. This is Grapevine. I'm Mr. G. I'll be back right after with another topic of discussion.